Hey y'all, Biohack here. I am here on my free-to-play mystery shard only account, an account that is about 45 days old, and I'm going to bring you my top 10 unconventional tips for new accounts. Now, I say new accounts specifically and not new players, although a lot of this advice can apply to new players. But what I'm going for in this video is something a little different than the typical like new players tips and tricks guide. It's more like how to start a new account and play it at a really efficient, really high level and go really fast through the content and really just try and min-max everything. So there's going to be tips in here that are probably might not make a ton of sense or might be a little bit clear to people who are literally just picking up the game, but maybe you can come back to this once you understand things a little bit better, and hopefully you can still find some useful tips in here. But like I said, this is like how to play a new account like you're really sweaty and you want to do the best possible things you can do on that account. So with that being said, I am currently on a promotion for Raid Shadow Legends, which is going to last for another, I don't know, like 4 or 5 days. So if you see this video right when it comes out and you're interested in starting a new account, please use the link down in the description and I would appreciate it. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, tip number 1 is actually a little outside the game, and that is when you create your new account, one of the first things you want to do is look for promo codes that apply to fresh accounts. There's a lot of promo codes in this game that give you very, very strong champions that you can only use in your first couple of days of creating your accounts, and so you want to use those early. How to find the latest promo codes is go to this website from a great Raid Shadow Legends content creator, Hell Hades, and actually the whole team at the Hell Hades gaming team, and they maintain this website that keeps up-to-date list of the promo codes. So go to Raid Shadow Legends promo codes. This is hellhades.com, and then you can scroll down here and you can see all of the active promo codes in the game. The new player codes are the ones that I was mentioning that are specific to new players. That you can only use, very early on, right after you create your account. And honestly, some of the rewards for this are so good that if you've just started the game and you haven't used these accounts or codes and you can no longer access them, it might be worth starting over just to get access to some of these champions. My particular recommendation would be use this code Superpowers right now to get Deacon Armstrong, which is one of the best epic champions in the game for starting players. Other good ones include Mordecai, who can place HP burn, also a really good champion. But even more than that, so you can only enter one code a day. Enter that first to get the epic champion if it's available. And then there's other time-limited codes that are available to all players that you can grab after you've done the new player codes, but always make sure you get the new players codes first. That's probably not that unconventional of a tip, but I want to say it right now because it's one of the most important things, and so that's going to be the first one on our list. All right, next tip. Again, this one's fairly conventional, but I do think it really needs to be emphasized, and that is as soon as you start your account, start focusing on the missions and knocking them out as soon as you can. Just take a look through here, see what you've got, and start doing them as soon as they're available. Also, in addition to the missions, don't ignore the challenges. Actually, those are honestly better right when you start the game than the missions. Particularly things like these artifact challenges will have you do things like farming Sewers of Arnok on stage on normal, on like this is stage 2, right? And you'll have to farm a ton of this crap in here, and these are really crappy missions that you really don't want to do later on in the game because this is such early level content. You don't really get any rewards for it other than completing those missions, but it's perfect to do right when you start the game because you want to start boosting up your champions and getting that EXP and leveling them up to help push you through the campaign later. So if you just knock these missions out right away, you'll get a ton of energy and a ton of other rewards that are going to turbo boost your account and get your early progression done. And you'll be doing them at a time when farming this stuff is actually useful for you for other reasons. Some other things to note while you're doing this is you're going to have to do things like farm like attack percent weapon or gauntlets and gloves and boots and all that kind of stuff. Make sure you don't sell that when you farm it because there's going to be a lot of other missions that require you to level it up and require you to put it on champions. These missions are kind of just a waste of silver. You're just going to have to level up a bunch of like random garbage and put it on your champions, but it is worth it, I promise. Even if it doesn't seem like the mission reward is very good. Once you unlock the next tier, you'll get a ton of energy and a ton of other resources. So start working on the missions right away. Start working on the artifact challenges right away. Just keep your eye on all of these tabs for what kind of stuff is in here that might be worth doing, because you absolutely get a ton of rewards for it, and it's worth focusing on. Don't ignore it. You're going to get a ton of stuff that'll help you boost up early on. All right, next tip number 3. This is when we start to get into things that are a little more controversial, and that is I strongly recommend you use Shield Guard as your first level 60 champion, as your main champion entering the game. Shield Guard is an absolute monster. First off, he is farmable in the campaign. So if we go over to what is it, Godfrey's Crossing, no sorry, Deadlands here, you can get Shield Guard as a drop when you're farming this. So you probably will need to get your starter champion. I would recommend choosing Kale. Most people will tell you to choose Kale as your starting champion, and I agree. Pick Kale, but take him up to level 40, get to the Deadlands, and just farm here until you get a Shield Guard and you get him completely booked out. You can get all of his books done just by farming him here, picking him up in the market, and picking him up in mystery shards and that kind of stuff. But Shield Guard is an excellent champion. So let's go over his kit and what makes him so good. His A1 has a 50% chance, once he's fully booked up, to place the small version of decreased speed. This is a 15% decreased speed debuff. It's not that great of a debuff, but honestly, it's actually a lot more useful than you might think when you start using it in certain content, especially content where you want to keep the boss's turn meter reduced when he's paired with something like an Armiger. So, for example, in the Fire Knight, you land the decreased speed, even though it's only the small version, and Armiger keeps the turn meter down. In the Potion Keeps, there's a lot of Potion Keeps that are really annoying. The Spirit Keep will constantly be healing. Oh, healing. One way to solve that problem, decrease its speed, keep the turn meter down with Armiger. Armiger is another uncommon champion, so that's also one that's not on this list, but a champion that you're going to want to use. So, okay, moral of the story is decreased speed actually is pretty useful, but that's not why we actually care about him. His A2 is the big thing that this champion brings to the team, and that is an AoE attack. Now, one of the things I should mention is that he is a defense-based champion. What that means is that his damage scales on his defense, so we want to stack as much defense as possible. One of the great things about stacking a bunch of defense to make your champion deal more damage is it means they're also more survivable. This makes him a great solo champion, and because he has this AoE attack on his A2 that fills his turn meter by 20% every time he gets a critical hit. We build him with 100% crit, we build him with a lot of defense, he puts that slam down, and then he can almost completely take another turn. If you were in a wave content like a campaign, he'll get 80% turn meter for using this. If we're in something like Spider, he'll be able to literally get enough turn meter to take another turn right after he uses this. So if we use him in Spider, he basically gets to do this AoE attack every single turn. He'll AoE hit the Spider, AoE hit the Spider, AoE hit the Spider. It's fantastic. And he does something similar for dungeons which don't have as many minions as the Spider, because even in the waves, he'll hit the waves and he'll get almost a full turn meter back and be able to slam again. So that makes him really good just to constantly throw out these AoE attacks. And again, because he's defense-based, he's easy to keep alive. The other thing he has, those are only 2 skills he has, only 2 active skills. The other thing he has is this passive, which a lot of people ignore, but it's super good, especially for early game. It removes a debuff every time he takes a turn. And we know this champion is going to take a lot of turns because he's boosting his turn meter all the time. This means that he can constantly be ripping off really harmful debuffs while he's doing content. One of the most important things you need to do with your very first champion is buy its masteries, get its masteries all done, and then use it to help you farm all the other masteries in the Minotaur dungeon, right? And one of the big, I don't have enough energy. One of the big problems with the Minotaur, one of the things that makes it scary, is it puts that Hex debuff up on your team, and then he'll slam you for a ton of damage if you have Hex up. Well, you know what happens when he does it to Shield Guard? Every turn he rips that Hex back off. It makes him fantastic for taking down the Minotaur. He can basically, once he's 60 and fully leveled up, if you can get him to the boss, which isn't, I mean, you know, you just put up a couple food champions, you get him to the boss, he'll solo the boss, no problem, because he cleanses off that that Hex, which means he doesn't take that much damage, and he hits the boss hard enough. You put him in lifesteal set, and he can do it. And that's one of the most important jobs you're going to have for an early game champion. And again, like I'm saying early game, but this account is 45 days in. I am pumping through content as like at a crazy fast speed. I'm about to unlock Arbiter, which I think is going to be a world record actually, so subscribe to the channel to see the rest of that. But I'm still using this champion everywhere. Like, I know people say, oh, he's not endgame viable. Yeah, true, but you build a ton of crap at endgame that you don't care about. What you need early game is champions that are going to help you get that progression. Shield Guard can do it. Anyway, I'm going to do a whole video just hyping up Shield Guard and talking about all the stuff that he can do. So if that's something you're interested in, follow the channel. But that's my third, a little bit more unconventional tip, which is use Shield Guard as your starter. For the record, my Kale on this account is only level 40. I've never leveled him up, never ascended him, never used him. Don't need him. Shield Guard's better, at least for what I want to do with him early game. All right, next unconventional tip that I'm going to give you is most players will recommend that you farm on stage 12-3 in Brutal, right? In the campaign. 12-3 Brutal is this campaign right here. This is the best EXP, combination of EXP and silver for your energy. So people farm here nonstop to level up all their champions. I don't, and I recommend you don't either. In fact, where I do almost all of my farming is in two places. One, because I use Shield Guard, again, as my starter champion, and he's a monster for solo content, I can farm stage 6 of Palace of Aravia solo with Shield Guard. I don't have enough energy to show you that run right now, but again, you'll see it soon. What stage 6 does is it drops these 6-star speed boots, and one of the things that's come into the game recently is the ascension, gear ascension, by getting oil in the Sand Devil. And one of the most important things you can do in terms of gear ascension is to get 6-star speed boots with an ascended speed stat. And so you're going to want to get a ton of 6-star boots, and you're going to want to run them, just keep ascending them until you can get that speed. And that, if you do that, that's 12 speed on top of 45 speed. That's 57 speed on a boot, which is absolutely nuts. So if we look at my account and we look at how many of these I farmed a ton of these 6-star speed boots. You can't see all their substats with my camera, but you get the idea. All of these. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we have a bunch of 5-stars as well. I farm here a lot. I level a lot of food here, and I'm not quite here yet, but I'm going to be farming a bunch of Sand Devil probably next week and getting all of these ascended, looking for those 6-star speed boots with the ascended speed substat. And it's good EXP per energy as well. So just get a Shield Guard, and for the record, my Shield Guard is using very crappy gear. He's using, ignore the accessories, we'll talk about those in a second. He's using literally gear that you get for the daily login rewards for completing the campaign, and a defense chest I farmed up from the campaign as well. And he can do Palace of Aravia on Nightmare, stage 6, and farm those speed boots while leveling all my champions. Okay, so that's one place to farm. The other place to farm is the boss. If we farm the boss on stage 7, I can't do Nightmare on the boss with Shield Guard. I want to, and when I get a little bit better gear, I will. But right now, I just need to farm Brutal. But Brutal can drop 5-star speed gear, blue speed gear, which is actually like pretty decent gear. So I have champions like my Deacon Armstrong here. Deacon Armstrong, for the record, has level 12 boots right now. I haven't even leveled up his boots. So when I do that, it will give him an extra 16 speed. Right now, he is running at 222 speed. When I have him with an extra 16, that's 238 speed on a champion that is using gear that is mostly farmed in the campaign. I've got this piece here, 14 speed. This is a campaign piece. Another one, another 14 speed. This is a piece I got in the campaign. Here's another one, 9 speed, piece I got in the campaign. And then he's using a couple of perception pieces that I got in the forge. And look, he's rocking 238 accuracy, and like I said, once I finish his boots, he'll be at 268 or 238 speed. That's a really, really solid build that I got just by farming in the campaign. I didn't even run dungeons. In fact, I almost run no dungeons on this account. I literally do dungeons for the missions and for the daily quest, and that's it. And so all of my champions, like you can see, I have a ton of champions that are built out with all of this like blue speed gear. Here's another one that's running, how fast is she? 209 speed. My Eris is running at 201 with level 10 boots. I haven't even leveled these up yet. Just, it's crazy. Like, you can get all of this gear in campaign and really take advantage of it. And because we have the gear ascension now, I think, honestly, it makes that campaign gear so much stronger, because a 6-star piece with the right substats, or the right main stat and the right ascension, can be way better than pieces you'll farm even in the dungeons, high-level dungeons, epic, legendary pieces that don't get those right ascensions and everything. And because you can really, really target in what you want, like, I'm just going to farm this one place to get these boots, 6-star speed boots, you know, you can get a massive advantage by taking advantage of a combination of ascension and campaign gear. So I strongly recommend Farm Palace of Aravia for boots and for these blue, again, more champions built with all of this blue gear that has speed rolls on it. It's great. It's great. It's really nice. So that's what I recommend. Don't farm 12-3, farm Palace of Aravia for that speed gear. You will be thankful when you go need to build all your champions and they're not slow as all hell. All right, the next tip I want to give you guys is kind of what I was already talking about, and that is don't ignore Sand Devil. Now, I say that, and honestly, I'm 45 days in, and I haven't done that much Ascension yet. But I expect this is going to change a lot in the next few days. So I'm going to be going hard farming Sand Devil as I'm doing my last push to gear out my champions to finish my Arbiter mission, because so far I've mostly been locked behind leveling up champions and ascending them. That's what's been stopping me from progressing in these missions, as opposed to anything else. But we're about to hit the stage where we're going to need to clear the level 20 dungeons on auto, and so that's when I'm going to go hard in Sand Devil. So I'm releasing this video a little early because we're doing a sponsorship right now. Otherwise I'd be talking about it in, you know, like 2 weeks when I have already done that Sand Devil farming. But I just want to emphasize it right now. Don't ignore Sand Devil. People, a lot of like content creators and veteran players are really salty about Sand Devil because it came around and made all their gear less useful, and people just, they have this like negative emotional reaction to Sand Devil because it made a lot of their gear pieces not good anymore and they felt emotionally attached to them. But this is not a logical position at all. There's a lot of people poo-pooing Sand Devil just purely out of this gut emotional reaction, and it's absolutely amazing to help you with your early game progression, especially, like I said, when you combine it with campaign gear that you can focus on very specific pieces that you need for your account, like those boots. So like I said, if you get a 6-star speed boot and you get it ascended, even if you can't, sure, you might not be able to farm Sand Devil 25, you might not be able to get the max oils, but you can farm stage 7 and get an extra 5 speed. You can probably farm stage 10 and get some of the greater oils too, just to like top up those last few pieces. Also, stage 7 is where you want to do most of your farming, even as an endgame player anyway, because you mostly need the lesser oils. So to help you, if you're actually do that farm, you're going to want to farm up a champion called Muckstalker. Okay, let's look at Muckstalker real quick. The main thing he brings to the fight is this sleep debuff on a 2 turns if the target has no active buffs. So we need to build him with, like, if you want to do it on stage 7, you need to build him with like 180 speed and like 200 accuracy. And then just make sure you don't actually bring in a full team. Bring in like 1 or 2 other champions with him to deal damage, but not enough to actually wake the Sand Devil up. And if you do that, you can just keep farming him and keep him to sleep forever. So you do need to get Muckstalker completely booked out. But again, this is my free-to-play mystery shard only account. I didn't pull all of those copies as Muckstalker to get him booked out. I farmed them all in Godfrey's Crossing here in the campaign. And you can just get Muckstalker here and get him completely booked, and he's an excellent Sand Devil champion, and he will get you through. I'll probably make, again, another video on this once I actually get to that stage where I'm farming it. But I can already farm it on, like, stage 3, which isn't great, but Shield Guard can solo this, and it can help you get a little bit. But, yeah, so that's a little bit more progression to the game, but don't ignore Sand Devil. It gives you a ton of stats, and definitely not something you want to sleep on. All right, next tip on the list, and that is focus on doing your advanced quests. Honestly, this tip probably should have been higher up in the list because it's one you need to focus on right away. So I think you unlock advanced quests at level 35, and you want to make sure you're able to complete all of your advanced quests every day, because by completing all the advanced quests, you'll get this extra energy refill, which is going to be hugely important. So what do we need to do to get our advanced quests done? There's a few things that we want to prioritize really early on that we can make sure we can do. And one of them is to be able to use your silver keys in the Doom Tower. You're pretty much every day you're going to have one quest to use your silver keys in Doom Tower, which means you need to be able to get through up to, like, you just have to use the keys. So just the very first boss, get through the first stages and be able to farm this boss. Now, your Shield Guard can probably do it just fine. It shouldn't be really too much of an issue, but it is something that we want to make sure that we're thinking about as soon as we unlock the Doom Tower, which actually for the advanced quest, until you unlock the Doom Tower, I don't think it actually gives you that one. So that's nice, but you're going to want to be able to get through it pretty quick. That'll be pretty easy to do once you have a few champions built up. This boss is really, really easy, but it is really, really important. The bigger one that's more of an issue is two things. One is the easy one, which is use faction keys every day. So you definitely want to be running your faction wars every single day, and we do need to use our faction keys. You can see I haven't used my ones for high elves yet. And there's two different quests you can get. One is just to use the keys, right? And any champion that's moderately leveled up, or a couple even uncommon champions moderately leveled up, can do stage 1. Stage 1 is very, very easy. The mobs in here, or the enemies in here, are like, you know, level 12. I'm not going to let this finish, because as long as you cancel it, you get your keys back. But it's very, very easy for, like, even just a random champion that's leveled up to level 30 that's going to be food to do this. So make sure you just have someone for every faction that can do it. They don't need to be good. You'll use them for food later, but make sure that they exist so that you can get that quest done. The harder quest is going to be to kill the boss. Now, the boss is a little trickier. You're probably going to need at least one decent champion. I mean, even this 6-star Eris, because she's not in lifesteal gear, like, this team doesn't actually kill this boss. So I need to rework her to get her to do that. But you're going to want to make sure you can kill the boss on as many factions as possible. So think about that when you're building champions, and it may be worth even taking people up to like 40, 50 to use for faction wars. I've been pretty lucky. I've missed very few quests because I didn't have the ability to kill the boss. That quest doesn't come up that often, but as soon as I'm done with my clan boss team and getting some I guess my first like 6 or 7 champions built out, and that's partly because I'm rushing in particular to do these arbiter missions to try and set some kind of record. As soon as that's done, getting champions to be able to do all the bosses in faction wars is going to be my next goal, because I never want to miss those advanced quests. So that would be what I would say is make sure you can do every faction. You can use your keys in every faction, even if it means level 20, level 30 champions in there that can just clear it with as little investment as possible. And then make sure you can farm Doom Tower to get your keys used so you can get that quest done. Cool. Oh, and there's one other one that can be a little tricky, which is to do Demon Lord, survive 20 turns on Demon Lord. Once you have champions leveled up a little bit, it'll be no problem. If you have to, go to easy and run it on there. But I think most 6-star champions can probably survive till 20 turns on easy, no problem. So, but that can be like right when you unlock it, that can be a little tricky. Okay, here we get into another like fairly unconventional tip, and probably one of the ones that is the most impactful, and that is try and do your clan quests as soon as possible. Most people, when they're talking about fresh accounts and like new player advice, will say clan boss, clan boss, clan boss, clan boss. Focus on clan boss, and they're not wrong, but also they're kind of wrong. Like, clan boss is really important when you're clearing nightmare and ultra nightmare every day, so you definitely want to focus on getting this done as quickly as possible. But one, like, you need to be in a clan that's actually unlocked those things to do it. I will happily sacrifice clan boss, like early game clan boss progression, like the ability to do like brutal and normal and hard, like these really easy level clan bosses, to make sure I'm doing my clan quests. And so there's a few different clan quests that you can do as an early game player. And the reason I talk about this in the context with clan boss is because you might need to frequently leave your clan and join a new clan. Like, if you just do that and you just join and like look at the list, just join random clans, you'll find lots of clans with like no people in them, or that just like no one cares and no one's doing any of the clan quests. And you can find a bunch of these quests to grab. So it's not really like taking anything from anyone. But there's quests that you can do that'll give you 350 clan gold for finishing them, and they're not that hard. So the big ones that I like to focus on, first off, I will let you know that there's one that has you farm 3 rare shields. Yeah, this one right here from the campaign battles. When you're doing the campaign, like when you just start the game, when you're doing the campaign, there's various stages where it will reward you with shields for completing this, like epic shields. For example, if we look at my shield guard, I showed you earlier, he's using this divine life gear. This is one of the rewards. For whatever reason, those shields actually count as these clan quests. So if you haven't pushed through that part of the campaign yet, normally getting these shields is really hard. Like, getting rare shields from farming the campaign is not necessarily that easy. So I wouldn't recommend taking this quest normally. But if you haven't collected those rewards yet and you know you're going to do it, this is one that people never grab, and it's an easy one to get done if you have those rewards coming in. The other ones that I always look for are increase attack buffs in Tag Arena, increase speed buffs in Tag Arena, and also you can do increase defense in Tag Arena. And this kind of goes back into what we were talking about earlier about farming Palace of Aravia for so much speed gear. We're going to have a lot of speed gear that we can use. And then what we do is we just take certain champions that provide those buffs and we put them in our 3v3 teams. So if I look, I think I have, like, I have this Diabolist here. She's in, she's in pretty terrible gear, but she's got 157, or she's running at what is this, like 170? Almost 162 speed, 63 speed, 62 speed. She's running at 162 speed with garbage gear on. That, like, these are like literally like 3-star pieces with like double speed rolls and stuff like that, level 8 boots, but she's faster than anyone else in my 3v3 team. And what that means is that she can come in and she can put an increased speed up. Let's see, are there any teams we can fight here? I kind of messed up my builds a little bit earlier, so this isn't going to work on all of them, but you'll see that the idea is, like, here we go, we have this level 20. Oh, actually Rhonda's going to go first and mess that up, I think. My spirit host will put up increased attack. Yeah, Valerie here. Okay, well, anyway, I'll run this anyway, and you'll see what the idea is, even though I'm not using those like super low level champions. I kind of rebuilt some of my characters, so Rhonda's going to go first and kill him before I put up. But you did see that my spirit host put up the increased attack, and Valerie, is she going to go? Yeah, she puts up increased attack right here, and so that's getting me credit for those missions. I have my Eris here putting up increased speed. That would also be getting me credit for those missions. Oops, I put the wrong team here. Hopefully they can take down this Kale. I should have reorganized it. But either way, the point is that when we do that, we can get these missions done, and you don't need, you don't need to be high level. You don't need anything. You just need to have a champion that can provide those buffs. And it doesn't even need to be the big version. It can be the small version of those buffs, and you get credit for those clan missions. So literally what I do is I grab these missions. I like join a clan. I grab these missions, assuming, the other people in the clan like aren't actually trying to get these missions, and these people are, like whatever. There's not that many players. Grab these missions. I run it. I stay in the clan for a few days. I finish the missions, and then I just jump to a new clan. And it's, it's pretty easy. And you'll get a lot of clan gold. Then what we go and do is we spend that clan gold on these revenge accessories. This is by far the most important thing to get on new accounts. I know a lot of people say like, oh, get the energy or get the tokens for the different champions. No. Farming a bunch of accessories for Spider, especially banners, is really challenging on new accounts. These revenge accessories are insane. I'm going to show you all of my champions are running 3 revenge accessories. We have this Bannerlord's ring for Ronda. I mean, this one isn't great. It didn't roll fantastic, but we still got an attack, a 5-star attack ring with, 11% attack. We have this one, again, not crit damage, but it's nice. I mean, we've got this accuracy. She's got a Brimstone Blessing, so that's really helpful. We've got another banner over here with attack and attack percent, 5-star. If we look at my Shield Guard, one of the reasons he's able to farm so much is he's got like fantastic, like this is a good piece of gear. You would like, I wouldn't throw this out on my end game account. A revenge ring, 5-star with a double roll in defense, like this is a solid piece for sure. Like, yeah, maybe not on my best arena nuker or something like that, or my best arena champion, but it's good. Here we have a crit damage one and another accuracy one. I actually got another one that's even better than that today. Hide the webcam. We picked this one up today, which I haven't finished rolling yet, but it's a 6-star. We've already double rolled in accuracy, crit damage with revenge. And these revenges proc a lot. I mean, it's a 5% chance, but now that I've got 3 of them, counterattacking on every hit. We've got another one up here. Look at this. We've got another, oops. There we go. We've got another defense banner with HP percent and 10 speed on it. Like these accessories make a huge difference. Like I said, like I've got my Deacon in all of these as well. Accuracy, like that's how we're getting our accuracy. This is how we're getting our survivability. And these counterattacks really add up, especially in things like Clan Boss. My Spirit Host, you should have a revenge ring. I'll have to, yeah, I need to build her in a new ring because look, we've got great stuff for her. This is how we get our speed as well. Like, look, there's another 12 speed. One of the ones, what do we get? Oh, here's one for Sacred Order. Like, look at this piece for Shield Guard. We've got an accuracy, 5-star accuracy banner with speed and defense percent. Or not Shield Guard, for Armiger. Like, this is a great piece. You're not going to see a piece like this farming spiders for ages. But you go and you do this, and you do the clans, and you clan quests, and you buy these accessories, and it's amazing. You get really good stuff. And I have a ton of it. I mean, I don't even know how many of these things, but literally, this is what I do nonstop, is just every time, always buying as much revenge accessories as possible, and it really adds up, and it's a lot easier than you think to get a ton of good gear for your champions. So strongly recommend you do that. Do the clan quests, and jump clans to grab clan quests from like clans that don't really have any active members where no one cares. You can just jump in, do the quest, leave the clan, and join a new one as soon as it's done. And yeah, sometimes you'll miss out on like doing the clan boss you want to, but it's, you know, it's whatever. It's not that important. So that's one of my, I think we're on what, tip 7. Do your clan quests, buy your revenge accessories, massive boost to your new account. All right, tip number 8 is going to be, you should focus on gear more than champions. I realize there's a lot of hype and excitement around pulling new champions, and that's where people get a lot of enjoyment, is like hoping for this champion that's going to complete your perfect team, and then you pull it and it's all exciting and whatever. Like, I understand why that's a big part of the appeal of the game, but honestly, shards are mostly bait. You can get really far in this game with champions that you can get for free from different areas in the game. Like I've already mentioned a few. Spirit Host is going to be part of my clan boss team. She's farmable in the campaign. Deacon was a login reward for that promo code that I mentioned earlier. Ronda was a login reward champion. Armiger, one of the best uncommons in the game. Or probably the best uncommon in the game, one of the best turn meter control champions in the game. He's an uncommon. He's fantastic. Shield Guard, we already mentioned. He's amazing. Eris is decent for clan boss because she always brings a counterattack and she brings increased speed. Valerie brings buff extension. She can be really useful for certain clan boss teams as well. This is a guy I just did a fusion for earlier. Broadmoth, fantastic reviver, brings increased speed and turn meter boost, brings a nice freeze. He is a fusion champion that you can get very easily. Like, all the champions you need to make this guy are guaranteed. You can get these guys by farming them in the campaign, and you can get the rest of the guys you need from fragments in the bazaar. So yeah, you can get a ton of really good stuff early on. Muckstalker is another one. Kale is a starter. Even Commander can be a decent healer, although yeah, I don't use her much anymore. But she can be decent as well. There's a lot of really useful champions that can get you really far in the game early on that you don't need to pull from shards. And these champions, like, you're not going to have enough resources to max your champions. Like, getting good champions oftentimes is bait, because you end up spending resources in a bunch of different ways all over the place, and you start working on one thing and then you change your mind because you got something better and you end up going for that, and you end up just splitting your resources way too thin. Late game it's fine because you can just level up tons of stuff and it doesn't matter, it's like whatever. But early game you really want to focus on like core champions, and constantly pulling shards and getting new stuff and switching what you're working on can be worse than just not getting those champions at all. So focus on a small core, especially things like these really powerful uncommons can be really useful because they're way less resource intensive than like legendary champions, which are going to be really hard to get the books for. So that is tip number 8, is focus on gear and a small number of champions, more so than just pulling tons and tons of shards. All right, here's another one that people are probably not going to like because it's very, very involved, but that is, you can get really far in arena by just fighting one-man defenses as long as you're willing to constantly refresh every 15 minutes. If you check out my Great Hall, again, we're 45 days into this account. Well, little caveat to that, I went on vacation for a few days, or like 10 days, and didn't log the account in. But that, that didn't affect any of this because we didn't collect any resources during that. This is a crazy Great Hall for an account at this point. I fight a ton of battles. This is on a Tuesday. This is Tuesday night. We had a reset a couple of days ago. I've already fought 109 battles. I've only lost 3. I regularly get into Platinum Arena on this account. I was in a Platinum Arena earlier today. I'm not saying that's like hard or an accomplishment. You can do it purely by farming these one-man defenses. As long as you're just in here with timers, just refreshing constantly, looking for one-man defenses. There's none on this page. But I do this all the time, and I use all of my resources and then invest that into the Great Hall. So I focused heavily on getting my first part of the Great Hall to level 10 because this is important for the Arbiter missions, and now I'm starting to spread out a little bit more. But for an account that's 45 days in, this is a really well-developed Great Hall. And it's just because we constantly refresh every 15 minutes. So if you're struggling with the arena and you have that option, just know that it's very tedious, but it is an option to get really far in arena. It's just only do refreshes and do the one-man defenses. All right. The next tip, and the last tip, is to be aware that you can farm a ton of gems by doing the 3 stars of the campaign in different areas. So there's a ton of rewards in here that are going to give you a lot of gems. And so what we're going to want to do is, once we've got our first champion to 6 stars, we're going to want to go back and do as much 3-starring as we can possibly do to get up to 800 gems, and then buy the masteries for our shield guard. Masteries make a huge difference, and there's certain masteries that can be really impactful early game. So for example, this mastery, Blood Shield, is kind of a weird one. Like, usually most people don't use this, but for early game solo champions, it can be really nice to get these big HP boosts or shield buffs every time you kill an enemy to help you get through some of that difficult content. So farm the campaign, get your missions, buy your masteries. That's what you want to do with your first set of gems. After that, I strongly recommend you max the sparring pit. Well, okay, I should add a caveat to that. Most people ignore the sparring pit massively to their detriment. It is the most efficient use of your early game gems. It's about twice as good as the gem mine in terms of like your return. If you figure out how much XP translates to energy and then like back calculate that out. The sparring pit is really, really good. That being said, you have to actually use it. So, what I do, because I'm trying to play this account like to maximum efficiency, is first off, you always want to level all of the same level of champion and all the same like star ranking of champions. So I have a bunch of 2 stars in here right now, all at the same time, because you want all these timers to finish at exactly the same time. You don't want to have to constantly be coming in here. I think a lot of people that get frustrated with the sparring pit like don't do it like this. They put in like a bunch of random stuff rather than putting in all uniform level, all uniform rarity or rank. And you do this, you only have to interact once to get all 5 up. But yeah, I set timers and I come here and like, okay, 5 hours, I know I'm going to need to check my sparring pit, and I level all this stuff up. And you can get a ton of leveling done in here. It's the equivalent of running the campaign like many times every single day. It's a really good return on the investment. So I recommend first getting your masteries, then getting the sparring pit. Again, this is assuming that you're playing fairly actively and you're going to actually use it. If you're not going to use it, then it's not as good. But if you're willing to actually, it's not that hard. It's actually really easy if you do this strategy where you use everything to be at the same. But, some people don't like to click those buttons or have to worry about logging in to check on it and stuff. But if you use it, Sparring Pit is fantastic. It's a ton of food. As you can see, we're 45 days in. I haven't even unlocked the mine yet. This is because I'm particularly pushing really hard to get Arbiter done and to get the clan boss running as quickly as possible. So I'm just dumping all of my gems into energy. Energy is by far the best place to spend your gems. I know you can buy shards in the shop with your gems, and that is total bait. Again, you don't need more champions. You need to have your better gear, better builds on your champions, and you get that by spending your gems on energy and farming. So that's what I recommend. You pretty much spend all of your gems on energy once you've got your masteries done, once you've got your sparring pit done, and then it's up to you. As soon as I finish the Arbiter missions and get through these stages where I need to get all my champions well geared out, I'm going to dump all the gems into the mine. That's going to be the next thing. And then after that, we'll just accumulate our gems and kind of hold on to them to help push through certain tournaments and events and things like that. But yeah, that's what I recommend. Masteries, sparring pit, before you worry about the gem mine. And that's going to be the last tip of this video. I probably think of some more stuff that should have been in here, so subscribe to the channel, and maybe at some point we'll do extra tips or something like that. Let me know what you think of these. Do you disagree with anything I said, or how do you feel about this kind of stuff? And if you are thinking about checking out the game, be sure to use the link in the description if you're watching this video shortly after I release it. I stream video and raid simultaneously on Twitch about 5 days a week, so come and follow my channel over there. And that's going to be it. Have a good one. Cheers.